5-star anime, Binge. This time, it's Dave taking over. We're going to be looking at, over here, Kino's Journeys from the 2017 version. I once saw the 2003 version. Saw an episode or two a long time ago, maybe around 2003, if you will. I remember the explorer with the talking motorcycle and thought that was pretty cool and wanted to know more about it, but I never got to see it. And now the 2017 version is on Crunchyroll. So joining me today is Jerry. Jerry will be hanging out with us. He's kind of quiet. He did watch some of the episodes with me. Let's go over them a little bit. So out of the 12 episodes, I saw half. 6 for you who didn't do well in math. The concept of this is pretty simple. There is a person named Kino who is riding around on a motorcycle that just happens to talk. The motorcycle's name is Hermes. Kino has a very kind of loose rule. Visits countries, stays for 3 days, kind of getting to know the people and their culture and their, just in general, just everything you need to know. Like 80% of what you need to know you can learn in 3 to 5 days. There are some times where things make Kino stay longer. That's why I say it's a loose rule. The second thing to remember is this world's weird in the fact that they say countries, and countries are really more like large cities / kind of kingdoms. It's not too apparent at first, but eventually you kind of realize that they're walled off. Many of them are walled off, and you come through gates. They have all their own rules and regulations. They vary in technological abilities, some being what looks to be 1800s Europe with farmers and the most simplest of machineries, all the way up to some very technological sci-fi kind of things. That's a pretty cool thing about the series to me is while Kino and Hermes, the talking motorcycle, which is a technology talking, not a supernatural, they're going around, they're the glue that holds these random odd stories together, and that's what they really seem to me so far. In the first 6 episodes, each kingdom is its own event, its own story. There is a character that shows up in episode 2 that shows back up and becomes the main character for episode 4, but he is, he's interesting, but he's not the main character in 2. He is the main character in 4. I'm sure he shows up again later. The first episode, a country where people can kill others. Kino hears about this country where murder is legal. Theft is not. So Kino goes there. Now, the other reason why I keep saying Kino is very androgynous at first. Maybe in Japanese, since the words have gender choices, that may mean something, but I don't speak Japanese, I don't recognize them, and I'm reading subtitles. A lot of times, Kino will be called boy, and Kino says, "Don't call me that." I think Kino is a female, but it's kind of not important. Kino also carries a couple of firearms, the woodsman, and I believe the cannon is the other one, and likes to practice his Kino's quick draw. So even I want to call he or her, depending on the moments. I don't know why. The first episode kind of introduces you to Kino and lets you know the rules of and the ethics of Kino, the traveler. And so episode 2 shows up at the Colosseum, where there is anyone who enters is randomly chosen. I'm not sure if it's everyone who goes or if it's like every third person or whatever, but there are certain rules where they have to go and have a contest. Not always to the death, but often it is. And that when the final opponent or when the final contestant is there, they get offered citizenship and they get to make a law. So there's a very interesting corruption / battle royale kind of thing. Well, not battle royale, because battle royale would be everybody. More like a Mortal Kombat, if you will. The third episode has a entire country on tank treads that rolls along, and you explain why they can't stop, and you get to learn some interesting things in this technology differences between one country and another. What do you think, Jerry? Okay. The fourth one, kind of following the bothersome country, the one that rolled, is a country that floats. And we return to one of the characters from episode 2 becoming the main character there, when this person, I'm going to go with he because he is a he. I don't think that'll spoil too much when you watch them. I'm sure if you're clever, you'll figure out who it is. But anywho, when he gets there, he learns that there's a choice. You can either live with the commoners who work in the ship country, or you can live with the ruling class and command the commoners. This character is a pretty honorable fella, so he chooses to live with the commoners and do the work, and gets to look around the ship and find out what's going on. So there's a lot. It's personally my favorite episode. Episode 4 is my favorite because of it being a good and self-contained story. Most of these are self-contained stories, but some of them are visual treats, some of them are moral quandaries. This one kind of walks that line in between, which brings us up to episode 5, which is not my favorite. It is A Country of Liars. Kino visits... Well, there's 2 stories here. Actually, there's kind of a mini story that happens where Kino learns about a fellow traveler and how that fellow traveler stopped in this one country, stayed, and became a local hero. And the second one is The Country of Liars. I'm not going to get into it. It is... If I get into it, then there's no reason to watch it, because this little part of this episode is entirely about everyone in the country getting into it, getting into the story as it is. This story is just not for me. I did not find it entertaining. I do not find it clever. I do not find it cute. If you do, more power to you, but not my cup of tea. The last one is In the Clouds, and in the Clouds, I enjoyed it, but it suckered me. We see a young slave, a young girl who was sold to a traveling group of merchants, it appears, and the difficulties that she faces dealing with these people. And yeah, you can't talk too much about it because, again, it'll give away the trick. I think that's one of the things about this this series so far that I'm really enjoying is they're not going out of their way to give you M. Night Shyamalan moments, but there are little ones. There are little, you thought they were going left and all of a sudden peaches. So I enjoy them. I would advise that you give it a look. It's not... Some of the anime we watch is odd. Some of it tries to be art, and some of it tries to tell a story or a meaning or a moral. This one doesn't get too high horse or preachy. It shares what it wants to share. It shows what it wants to show. You're really not overwhelmed with anything, and I think that's one of the fun things about Kino's journey. I don't know if it's available in English dub. On Crunchyroll, I'm watching it with subtitles, and it's doing well. A little bit of action, a little bit of morals, a little bit of fun. There's a talking motorcycle. Jerry here was glued, never said a word. So yeah, if you've got a few extra 20-30 minutes, maybe check out an episode or 2 and come back and see what we think about part 2 episodes 7 through 12.